Did you know that 90% of the world's millionaires invest in real estate? Well, I'm Angel with the Academy Presents Real Estate Investing Rocks, and I'm here to help you if you want to go for your piece of that pie. My 12-year-old has definitely got a mind of her own. And like whenever she's in like advanced classes and she don't want to do her work, I get upset and I'll get after her. And my husband's like, you know, some of the people that excel the most aren't straight A students. You know, they're BC students because they care about other things too. And I think about it and I'm like, I back up a little bit and I'm like, man, because I don't want to break her spirit.
Right.
Because like she created her first business when she was literally in 3rd grade. And I thought it was just, I shouldn't even record this. I thought it was like the dumbest thing ever. Because she was selling these little pom-poms and calling them pets. And at first, the way it started was she gave away one of the little pets, but it was a reward that her teacher had given her. And so I lost it. I'm like, why would you give away your reward? You know, and I was like, are you becoming a Democrat? I was not that we're like hardline political party. We're not. But all I could think of is she was sharing with people her hard-earned reward. And so then after I get over being angry, I'm like, wait a second. She didn't just give it away. She sold it. And so I gave her a loan. We went to Hobby Lobby and she bought a whole bag of pom-poms. And she took them by size. So there was like these little bitty ones that she called micro pets that were like a penny. And then there were small pets, medium pets, large pets, extra large pets, all different size pom-poms, the little polyester pom-poms. And then we got another bag that was like animal print, and then some that had like these little, metallic things coming out of them. She called them firework pets. And she had an entire like cost system set up for them. And she made enough money that she could go to the book fair and buy whatever she wanted at the book fair. And then she was able to buy more, like she was able to pay me back the loan that I gave her to buy supplies. She was able to buy her own supplies a couple of times after that. And then at summer camp, she did all of her pets, which is like the swaps. And it was all paid for.
Wow.
So, and that was what she started in 3rd grade. And then she was in 6th grade this past year, and she had employees that she trained on how to make, they made like rubber band bracelets, and they would sell them, and she would sell them to them at a reduced price. But the funny part is that she was the one that supplied all the rubber bands. So they still had to buy all their supplies from her. And then they had to pay her for the training of how to like create all these things to sell. So they were still her employees, but they kept like a commission sales structure. I don't even know how she did it, but I was just like, holy night. But
maybe
like,
you need to interview her for you.
It's so hard because it's like, I want to be angry because she's not putting all this effort into school. So her grades aren't where they could be. But then my husband's like, don't break her spirit, because this is what's going to make her excel as an entrepreneur. And it's just, so because I think that inside of us, there's like this feeling that to be successful in life, you have to be successful in school.
Yes.
And I think that I was raised by my grandparents. My grandparents valued education.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had this thought and this deep-seated mentality that I have to excel in school to excel in life. And so school was very important to me. Whereas Julianne that's my 12-year-old, is seeing us excel in something other than what our degrees are in. And so even though my degree is in economics, which helps, my husband's degree is in engineering. But it is our life experiences with our families in real estate and what we've crash course learned in the last 2 years that's helped us excel. And so I think that she's having a harder time connecting success in school to success in life.
Right.
And I'm kind of hoping that there's a movement in that motion for upcoming generations.
Yeah, I think there is actually something starting about more trade schools are being promoted because, you know, even in construction, like electricians and plumbers, they make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I always tell my husband, if they don't want to go to school, they need to be electricians or plumbers because they make a lot of money. Roofers, they make a lot of money. Like if they have this business sense, on how to create and grow their company, if they go into trades like that, they are going to make money. So,
Yeah.
and if they enjoy that, then even better. So I don't think, I think in your grandparents' time and in my parents' time, college was a lot more valuable, because also not everybody had a college degree. So when you have a population where everybody has a college degree, then that's not valuable. Then the master's degree is the valuable part. And then when everybody has a master's, then it's not valuable anymore. You got to do something new. So I think going back to the trade schools, I think we need people that do these things too. And if they are paid well, even better. And, it's like a 3-year degree or trade school diploma. So
I know like lots of the high schools too have started offering the certificate programs. So like our high school, you can do auto body repair, you can do mechanics, you can do the electricians. There's a plumber track, there's the beauticians, the certified nursing assistant. And
beauticians, they charge a lot of money.
Yeah. So I had a girl, because I teach for Wayland Baptist University, but I also taught for Vernon College for a while. I had a girl, actually I had 2 girls in one of my economics classes. They both had gotten their beautician's license in high school, and they were getting their business degrees because they wanted to own their own salons. And one of the girls was actually paying for college with the money she was making as a beautician.
Yeah, and that's amazing, because
now she has her own shop.
Free. Yeah. And debt free because she paid it while she was working.
Yeah. And honestly, when I got a couple of times when I got my hair done, I went to her because she was an amazing student. She studied hard. She learned it. She applied it. And in my mind, I knew that she did that same thing with what she learned as a beautician. And I knew that she would be an amazing hairstylist because of the effort I saw her put forth in my class. And it was 100% on target. That movement back toward trades and like the services where you're learning hands-on is, I think that is going to become more and more important, because what we're seeing is like what you said. I mean, everybody's got a bachelor's degree, or tons of people have bachelor's degrees. I know that like as soon as my tertiary institution found out that my husband had a doctorate, they were like, oh, can you bring us his CV? And at that point, I'd already been teaching for Wayland for a decade. And I was like, oh, you want to hire my husband because he has a doctorate? Because I have a master's. And they were like, oh my gosh, bring us his CV. And I was like, oh, okay. Because it was, I mean, your tertiary institutions want those doctorates.
Right. Yeah.
So even though I have a master's, and I mean, I think I'm pretty darn intelligent, they need those advanced degrees for their accreditation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. That is true. That is true.
Yeah. But it does waters down the pool the more and more people that go to college, and college just isn't for everybody.
Yeah. A lot of kids go to college because the parents want them to go to college, and they struggle. And then, to me, that's a waste of money. It's not cheap to go to college. And if your kid is not meant to go to college, then why waste that money? Why not invest that money on a business, on something that he will enjoy? If they like doing stuff with their hands, fixing stuff, being an electrician, that will also has a good outlook. They can have their own business and succeed that way too. So I think before I was of the thought that the only way to succeed was going through college, and now, even through real estate, I realized that there is other options. A lot of the successful people, they didn't go to college.
Yeah, or even if they did, they're not working in their degree.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, like I said, I mean, having a degree in economics helps me. And I mean, having a degree in engineering helps my husband because he can crunch through the numbers and he can see the patterns that I'm not necessarily going to see.
Right.
But I honestly believe that we could have still been successful in real estate without those degrees.
Right.
I mean, my grandmother, she wound up getting a GED. She only went through 8th grade because my grandmother was Hispanic and her family would go and pick cotton. And so she would have to leave the school year with her family to go pick cotton. So she only made it through 8th grade. My grandfather he was a very hard worker, but C's were very difficult for him. So he worked really hard to get those passing grades. So they weren't college graduates, yet they were still able to be successful in real estate.
Right.
So, and then on the flip side of that, like Jason's family, they were all college graduates and they were successful. But it's kind of like between those two scenarios, success was found for both.
Right.
And so, well, what's the common denominator? Well, it wasn't getting a college degree.
Right.
So it's, I don't know, it's hard because like being brought up to believe that you have to have that piece of paper.
Right.
I want my daughters to have that piece of paper because you have to have that piece of paper. But then I look at it like realistically and I look at the people around me and I'm like, but you don't have to.
You don't have to, but it's stuck in our heads, right?
Yes. And like I came out of school owing $100,000. I mean, that my daughters could just step into what we do, be uber successful and not have to pay back $100,000.
Yeah. Or use that money and invest it, you know, and I mean, that's a lot of money. And that, you know, that's one of the things, like I was able to go through college and pay for it. And I when I finished college, I had no debt. But my husband, for example, he did have some college debt. And I can see it in a lot of kids now where they are going to college and they are putting it all on a loan, and then they graduate and they have these huge debts, like you had 100,000. And so that's, you know, it's not even like an even field. You're like below, you know, you're starting with like minus 100,000 that you have to pay back and survive and, you know, and try to get an apartment and a car and all the things that you want to do. So, you know, I guess there is different options, and one of the options is real estate. And what I love about real estate is like the flexibility. You can do property management. You can do, you can buy single families. You can buy multifamilies. You can buy retail. I mean, there is so many ways to make it in real estate. And through my podcast, Real Estate Deal Closers, I can see that as well. You know, people doing all kinds of strategies and growing. So, you know, my focus is to kind of, you know, do that as well and network with people. And that's one of the things in real estate that is so important. And I don't think we've talked about is networking, right? Networking, you know, the people that you are surrounded with is your best asset, because when you are isolated, when I was doing it by myself, I didn't have anybody to talk about it. So I only knew what I knew. And once I started, networking with other people, you know, my knowledge started growing so much. And now, you know, when we were meeting people before COVID, I made friends with a bunch of investors from the meetups that I attend. And so now I can pick up the phone and call them and have an intelligent conversation about whatever deal I have. You know, I called this friend the other day. I was like, hey, I'm trying to do this. What do you think? And, you know, he gave me his opinion. You know, a few years ago, I would be like, I don't have anybody to talk to about this.
Now, you also run a meetup, don't you?
Yes. So I run a meetup in Fort Lauderdale. It's called Multifamily and More, South Florida. And we have a Facebook group you can join if you like. And we are not meeting right now because of COVID. I'm hoping that we can resume our meetings. I'm not sure if this month is going to be possible. Because I think they started closing again. But we are still doing a virtual meetup once a month, and I'm about to post the next one. We always do it the third week of the month. So it's going to be the third Wednesday of the month. So it's coming up in the next 2 weeks. And it's, you know, the meetup, it's such an awesome way to network with people. And that was the first challenge that I was given when I joined the masterminds. Like, you got to join a meetup. And, you know, it was so funny because I couldn't find a meetup that matched my schedule. And, you know, all of them were at lunchtime, and then they were at lunchtime the day that I worked, so I couldn't even make it, or they were too far, or, you know, it was just like, you know, bad timing. So I found this one, Multifamily and More, and I started helping the organizer, and then I ended up taking over the South Florida chapter, because there is chapters all over the country, and we have really good virtual meetups once a month as well. So then once I found that one, like I started founding a bunch of them. So now I go to one that is on Saturdays. I go to mine, and then sometimes I go to the women's meetup as well. So it was funny how I couldn't find any, and then all of a sudden I found a bunch.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
really
very
cool though,
important.
that you just got in one and took over, because that's when I think about the very first summit that I did like in March, that was so outside my comfort zone. And now it's like I don't even second guess it. It's like, oh yeah, I've got another summit coming up in September. And
Yeah.
whereas the first one, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I need to hire somebody to help me. I need to do this. And we still hired someone to help us, but it's not, your comfort zone catches up really fast.
Right.
And so it's not as overwhelming. It's not as stressful. And now
Right. It's like what we were talking about, fear, right? You are super fearful when you start something new, and that's okay. But like, don't let that fear stop you. Just keep going, keep pushing, and, divide the tasks little by little. And Jay always says, like, done is better than what is it? Perfect. Done is better than perfect. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect the first time, and you're going to keep improving. And like, when I was going to release the podcast, I think I had it ready since end of February, but then COVID happened and like this and that. And I was like, yo, no, I'm going to move it. I'm going to move the release. And he finally was like, Anette, you just got to release it. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. Done is better than perfect. And I was like, okay, I'll do it.
But it's hard to think that, because like when I started doing these, I call them shows because they're not really podcasts, they're not really webinars, they're shows. It was like, I realized at the end of April, because my husband's like, you said you're going to start doing weekly webinars starting in April. It's the last week of April. And it was kind of that, this was like Tuesday of that last week of April. And the Friday was actually May 1st. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I need to just do this. And so I just did it. May 1st was the very first one I did. I found 4 ladies that were willing to do a panel on, how do you schedule your day? And that was day 1. And I've been doing it every week since, but it wasn't perfect. They still aren't perfect by any means. Clearly I forgot to hit record when we started this one, but it's just doing it. And
Correct.
So when I finally found a production company, or when we finally found a production company we wanted to go with, they were like, holy cow, you've got so much content to work with. And so taking that content that's already there and turning that into podcasts, and then coming through and, from this point forward, editing the videos and making the videos SEO optimized and all that good stuff, it's going to get better, but you have to start somewhere. And it's taking that first leap that can often be so scary. But I don't think anybody's going to look back on that first one and be like, holy moly, that was really crappy. It's more like, wow, you're doing a great job. I can't believe you actually started,
Yeah, but like I said, done is better than perfect. And now I look at the first episodes that I record, because I kind of like, I recorded a bunch and then I started releasing, and I look at the first ones, when I'm about to release it, I'm like, wow, like, it's not, the sound was not that good, and the lighting was not that good, and the way I was interviewing wasn't as good because I was not feeling confident yet. So, it's progress. It's all about progress. And, I am a firm believer that little small steps will take you far. Like, you don't have to start and be a superstar. You just need to start with one step, one thing. Just take whatever you learn today and just put it into practice. And then the next in the next week or the next month, you start with some other small step, and little by little, you're going to be going places.
Yeah. And I really love that. So for everybody that is watching now or is going to eventually get to see this, just remember that you don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to like try to eat the entire elephant in one bite,
Exactly.
Just go little by little, and you're eventually going to see progress. One of the favorite things I've heard too is, even if you only improve 1% every day, at the end of a year, that's 365, percentage points of improvement. And that's amazing. So if you don't take anything else away from today, just take that idea away that little bitty improvements still get you from point A to point B. It may take a little bit longer, but you're still going to get there. So, Annette, thank you for joining us today. If anyone has any questions, you can send them to me. I will put my email in here. Actually, let me put the other one so that my husband can get it too. And if you have questions, let me know, and I will make sure that they go to the people they need to go to get those answered. And otherwise, I will see y'all next week, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, well, it was my pleasure because I got to learn too, and that's my favorite thing about doing this.